Well, as long as you were not out jogging with Ashley, it was,
No,
We're
I was
live.
not flagging. Today. Today I'm prepared.
Chairman Jones, we're live. We're ready.
okay. Good afternoon. The School Board of Duval County District is now convened in its regular monthly meeting. To everyone present and to our television viewers, I wish to extend a warm welcome to this meeting of the Duval County School Board. The vision statement of the Duval County School Board states, every student is inspired and prepared for success in college or a career and life. The mission statement of the Duval County School Board is to provide educational excellence in every school, in every classroom, for every student, every day. The Duval County School Board is here tonight to listen to reports from district staff and to set policy for the district that will improve student achievement. We will also address budgets, contracts, personnel appointments, and other business items that require a vote of the board. The management and day-to-day operations of the district are the responsibility of the superintendent. It is not the role of the board to make managerial or operational decisions. The board has policies and procedures in place to assist the superintendent in resolving management and operational issues. If items appear to move quickly, it is because the board meets in an agenda committee meeting prior to the board meeting for an in-depth review of all agenda items. The committee meeting for the May 19th, 2020 school board meeting will be held on May the 5th, 2020 at 9:00 a.m. and the public is invited to participate. Thank you for taking the time to join us this evening and for your interest in the operation of the Duval County School District. Board members, I invite you to stand for a moment of silence and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, liberty and justice for all. Okay. Approval of the April 27th, 2020 agenda, that the Duval County School Board approve the April 27th, 2020 agenda as submitted on April 20th, 2020.
So move. Approval.
Motion by Board Member Smith Juarez, second by Board Member Willie. Any discussion? Board Member Anderson.
Oh, no discussion.
No, I mean, call for your vote. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Board Member Willie.
Yes.
Smith Juarez.
Yes.
Charlie Joyce.
Yes.
Who did I miss? Board Member Grimes.
Here.
Board Member Grimes. Do I have her microphone?
It looks like your mic's not activated.
Yes, she said yes. Yes, okay. Board Member Hershey.
Yes.
Okay. By action, you approve the agenda. Chairman's report. I want to take the opportunity to, first of all, thank 6 individuals who worked very hard, and Board Member Hershey appointed this Founders Dream Team that represented us so very well and didn't charge the district a dime. And I just want to note for the record that Hank Cox spent almost 100 hours, Scott Cairns 112 hours, Audrey Moran 85 hours, Michael Lockerbie 142 hours, Hal Houston 153 hours, Cameron Kynes 53 hours. They donated that time to make sure that this district had the proper representation and that we had the right to uh, address our legal concerns we had with the Office of General Counsel. Um, we're all grateful for that representation, and they did it because they care about this community. They did it because they care about our children, to make sure that they were being educated in the best facilities we can make possible. And I just want to personally thank them. I know we don't have much of an audience watching tonight, but I think we all need to give them a round of applause for what they've done for the students of Duval County. And when you get a chance, please reach out to them and thank them individually. I'm doing a thank you card to each one of them because I know that they spent a lot of time and in representing us, and they were called a liberal attorneys by some, but they represented the best of Jacksonville. I just want to personally thank them for that. And that concludes my report. Remember that November the 3rd is election day, and remind all your constituents that the referendum will be on the ballot, and to encourage them to go out and vote and support providing better facilities for our students. Dr. Green, Superintendent's report.
Thank you, Chairman Jones. Good evening, everyone. Nina, if you would post my slide presentation. Maybe. Nina, can you hear me?
She's coming, Dr. Green.
Okay. While we're waiting for Nina to come, I'm just going to give you an overview about my report. I want to give an overview of the instructional delivery that we've been utilizing with Duval Homeroom, what our student attendance has looked like since spring break, just a little bit more information about the class of 2020 graduation plans, food service, here it comes, laptop deployment, service desks, and partnerships. Nina, if you would turn to the overview, which that is what I just shared with the board. You can turn to the next page. If you remember, we really had about 3 days to turn on the switch for Duval Homeroom. And in those 3 days, we had a half-day training for administrators and a half-day training for teachers. That training has turned into something completely unexpected. Teachers have been so collaborative that now we have developed what we call teacher collaboration channels. These are dedicated channels for grade level or content specific teacher planning and collaboration. Other content area teams are hosting what they call team share fairs with incredible participation. So teachers may create something and they can go into a certain channel and share that with other teachers that may be teaching the same content or the same grade level. We just completed teacher Flipgrid training, and I know enough about Flipgrids to be dangerous. And unfortunately, we couldn't get our YouTube video to operate. One, we thought it might create total havoc on the meeting. So I will email it to each of you so that you can watch one of our teachers using the Flipgrid with their kindergarten students in their Duval Homeroom classroom setting. Teachers across all grade levels and content areas have been highly engaged in professional development. There now is no barriers. There's not travel time, there's not TDE so that teachers can now access high quality professional learning and collaboration. We believe this is one aspect of virtual learning that will not go away once we come back to face-to-face. In addition to so many creative student learning opportunities, such as mathematics escape rooms and interactive whiteboard lessons and student flip grids, students remain in school live. We are seeing after-school clubs continue, such as Interact, Gay Straight Alliance, robotics, and multicultural clubs. Band classes are collaborating on music compositions and creating full orchestrated concert videos. Currently today on Duval Homeroom, you can see the middle school virtual art gallery that's featured. Teachers, paraprofessionals, and administrators in several of our elementary and combination schools are also posting daily bedtime stories. If you've not recorded your story hour, I hope that you will take the time to read your book so that we can get you posted, and you can also be one of the bedtime stories, or in many of our schools, they're using it as story hour. We also are engaging in virtual field trips. We've taken field trips to the Air and Space Museum, the San Diego Zoo, the Atlanta Aquarium, and the Florida Keys Sea Turtle Resource Center. There is a rescue turtle named John E. Ford. I don't know why we named him Johnny Ford, but and the teachers who rescued it are following John's recovery with their classes. We also have Fun Friday. Students, if they reach their weekly goals, they can come together for student-led conversations on topics of their choosing. They still are having movie time and just an opportunity to socialize and celebrate with one another. So students and teachers are really remaining connected, which we know is extremely important. And we have seen some amazing, I know each of you may have seen amazing things from some of your schools, but the teachers truly have embraced Duval Homeroom, and our students are embracing it. I will say, I still every now and then get emails from students that says, this is too much work. My teachers seem to overload me with work, and immediately we connect them with either their guidance counselor or their principal to help them, and the school makes a phone call home and really works with that student. But we've seen some amazing things happening in Duval Homeroom, and the reason why we know amazing things are happening, believe it or not, unlike as they reported nationally, student attendance was down. For us, student attendance is up. Nina, if you turn to the next slide. Student attendance is taken daily through their student logins or phone calls home. If a student does not log in, someone has to get on the phone and call that student. Students with no access to internet, which that number is getting lower and lower, have been receiving the instructional packets, and staff follow up with them via phone calls. As you can see, even our one district where we are struggling a little bit with attendance, it's still higher than where it was prior to spring break. I will send you this PowerPoint to your email. It may be a little tough to see which district, but every district is above the average daily attendance than they were before spring break. And so as you can see, over the last 4 to 5 weeks, students have truly been engaged. And I think one of the reasons that they are really engaged is through our team meetings. That's our version of Zoom in Microsoft Teams. Mr. Colbert told me last week, that we have logged in 6 million team meetings. In 30 days, 6 million. That's a lot. So Students are making sure their families know, hey, if I'm in kindergarten and at 8:10, it's classroom circle time, they know, oh, I have got to be online so I can see my teacher, or my teacher can see me, and learning is happening. As you can see, the highest absentee rates is being found in District 5. As you know, it was the lowest prior to spring break. It's a little bit higher than where it was. However, starting this week, we will be sending out social workers to do home visits. These home visits are really for those students that we are having a hard time keeping them engaged, or we hear the student has moved, yet we've not received any information or phone calls about where have they moved to. So starting this week, our social workers, along with our school police, so Director Edwards' team will team up with a social worker, and they will start doing home visits. They will have their mask, and they will make sure that they are doing their social distancing of 6 feet. Next slide, Nina. Graduation update. Our celebration class of 2020, we are partnering with WJXT and High School 912 to broadcast the senior time capsule showcase. If you look down at the bottom, it says each school will receive 1 hour broadcast on May 16th, 17th, 23rd, and 24th. For our smaller schools, such as Alden Road, those will not be an hour long. I believe they will match 2 small schools, and it'll be approximately 30 minutes apiece. As you know, we asked our seniors how did they want their graduation to occur, and the overwhelming majority of them wanted it postponed to July. Even though we are postponing it to July, it still may pose challenges if the executive orders haven't been lifted, or the restrictions on social distancing hasn't relaxed. We are planning a plan B, plan C, and plan D for July to ensure that we have some form of a graduation for our seniors. Nina, the next slide. This slide shows our food service analysis. As you could see from the very beginning, our food service deliveries, especially when we added the big yellow lunch and learn, the number of meals continue to rise. You'll see when it dropped, if those were days that those were really stormy days. So the number of meals served dropped. I know this is service averages about 20,932 students per day. Our meals, however, are starting to reach days as high as 45,000 meals being served. With us adding the additional schools for dinner, we believe the meal service is going to start to rise. It's important to note that our meal service, summer, it completes on the last day of school. It restarts summer when summer school begins. So there will be at least 1 week or maybe 2 weeks where there's no meals being served by the school district. It is our understanding that KHA is going to have meal locations. We are asking, I would have to say, federal government to give us another waiver to allow us to serve meals during that 2-week period. But if we don't receive the waiver, then we can't serve meals. And it may be between 1 week and 2 weeks. I don't have the exact number of days down as of yet. Next slide. Our laptop deployment analysis, we've deployed a little over 36,000 devices a little over 35,000 student laptops, 329 teacher laptops, and 446 hotspots. We still are delivering laptops at this point. If a family calls, as a matter of fact, I got an email today, one of the students, their personal laptop has an issue. They asked could they get another laptop, and we connected them with IT, and now that student will receive a laptop by either going to one of the distribution centers, or they could be in that group of students that we actually deliver the laptop to their home. A lot of those deliveries are taking place with Director Edwards and his team escorting whoever is delivering that laptop to the student's home. As you can see the distribution by school site. And these school sites were the 10, and we added Southside late in the process, but the 10 distribution sites. Next slide. Our technology service desk analysis in the very beginning, we weren't doing very good. It was massive phone calls we did, and we started with about 50 people on the service desk, and we still could not keep up with the number of calls coming in. But now that we've added 50 additional staff members, they have been trained. Believe it or not, these are staff members that this is not their normal job. And Jim Colbert and his team were able to train them so that they could stay at home, shelter in place. This was mainly for employees that had underlying medical issues, or they were in the age category that the governor had indicated needed to stay at home. We trained these individuals, and now they are on.
Can you hear?
I think, yeah. I think so.
Somebody needs to mute.
Okay.
Okay.
And now they are the front lines for the service desk. And so we are getting to our parents and our teachers very quickly. Our last slide, partnership analysis. We've had a number of community partners, individuals that came to us and said, how can I help? And so we wanted to thank our community partners for their continued support. We've already started distributing school supplies, books for reading. Read USA donated 35,000 books for students in our Title I elementary schools, hand sanitizer, mask, gloves. For our middle school students, we received feminine hygiene products along with books for adolescents. And we are still partnering with Blessings in a Backpack. Those schools that receive Blessing in a Backpack, we deliver those backpacks on Friday. That for those families that receive a backpack, they have food for the weekend that carries them over until Monday. But we are very fortunate and very blessed to have a very giving community. I do want to say we had a young man. He is a graduate, and I hope I have this right, from Edgewood High School, and he is a professional baseball player. He's asked that we not share his name. He's asked that we keep his identity anonymous, and he donated $130,000 for school supplies, for crayons, for hand sanitizer, anything we needed to support our students. And we just want to, we've already sent him a thank you card, his organization, a thank you card for contributing to the needs of our students. And that concludes my report.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Green. Thank you for all the work that you and your staff have done. It's been a tremendous effort, I know, to get us up and running and trying to.
This conference will now be recorded.
It will be recorded. Okay. But thank you for getting the attendance up. I know that's been a challenge and a concern of mine for a long time. public comment. We are now on the public comment portion of our agenda. The school board welcomes your comments on matters that are before the board for consideration. It is not the board's intent to respond this evening, but to use the input in our deliberations. Public comment was accepted by email between 8 o'clock a.m. through 4:30 p.m. Friday, April 24th, 2020, for the regular board meeting. Thank you for taking your time to address the board. Yes, Mr. Pierce, are you going to read the comment?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have one public comment tonight. It comes from Tim Miller. Mr. Miller writes, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the teachers, staff, superintendent, and board for all of the work that has been done to move the entire district from the traditional classroom setting to a virtual setting. I especially want to thank the IT staff for their amazing work during this time. As an IT person myself, I understand the amount of work that went into making this happen. The leadership of the district has been thoughtful and diligent in their approach to adjust to this new reality. I have heard some concerns from teachers and parents that there have been mixed messages around assignments and grading. We need to ensure that there is some consistency across the district. Specifically, I have heard that some teachers are being told that they cannot count any missing assignments against students and cannot assign failing grades, even if the student has done no work. This causes an ethical issue for teachers because without assignments being turned in, there is no way to justify a grade. If no assignments are turned in, assigning anything other than a failing grade would be falsification of grades. My assumption is this may be a communication issue. I do understand there are many different situations, but some concrete guidance would be appreciated by those I have communicated with. We also need to ensure that our ESE students are fully supported during this time and that their services continue as uninterrupted as possible. Again, thank you for all your work to help our children get through these challenging times. Signed, Tim Miller, Jacksonville, Florida. And that concludes the public comment.
All right, thank you, Dr. Pierce. Next, we will have comments from employee organizations. Elton Brown, President, asked me, who has that one?
Mr. Chairman, I have that one as well.
Okay, Dr. Pierce.
On behalf of Mr. Elton Brown, President of AFSCME Local 2941, late last week, we found out that over 700 custodial workers who are employed by GCA/ABM, which has an ongoing contract with the Duval County School Board, were to be laid off effective today. This comes as a tremendous personal and economic shock to our dedicated custodians at Duval County Public Schools, many of them who have been with the county for well over a decade and who have families to support. To be laid off suddenly with no notice in the middle of a historic pandemic and economic downturn is a severe challenge, to say the least. These employees keep Duval schools clean and safe for our students, teachers, and staff. They literally put their health and the health of their families on the line and will continue to do so if and when they are rehired to sanitize school grounds and equipment, protecting all of us from a highly contagious and deadly virus. We ask the school board, as the responsible contractor in this situation, to join with us in demanding that ABM pay for health benefits for these workers for the next 3 months, effective today. Take concrete steps to assist these workers to apply for unemployment benefits through the state of Florida and to rehire these workers as soon as possible. It should be noted that ABM, parent company of GCA, made over $6 billion in profits in 2019. And if that weren't enough, ABM is currently lobbying Congress for more funding and loans due to the COVID-19 crisis. It is obvious that ABM has the moral obligation and the ability to do right by these dedicated employees. These laid off workers are members of our community who will now be struggling to pay medical bills, take care of family members, and put food on the table. They deserve better. Elton Brown, President, AFSCME Local 2941.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Pierce.
You're welcome.
Approval of minutes. that the Duval County School Board approve the minutes for the meetings listed in the agenda item. February the 11th, 2020 Board Workshop, February the 18th, 2020 Board Workshop and Committee Meeting, February the 20th, 2020 Joint Meeting with Jacksonville Public Education Fund and DCPS Board members, March the 3rd, 2020 Board Workshop, March the 3rd, 2020 Regular Board Meeting, March 16th Emergency Board Meeting, March 24th, 2020 Special Board Meeting. I ask for your motion.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Smith Morales, second by Board Member Anderson. I call for your vote. Vice Chair Anderson,
Yes.
Board Member Grimes. She's still muted. Can you do a Cheryl, Ms. Grimes?
Still muted. I don't know.
You're unmuted now. We can hear you.
You did it.
Okay, good job.
Is that a yes vote?
Yes.
Board Member Hershey,
Yes.
Board Member Joyce,
Yes.
Board Member Smith, Juarez,
Yes.
Board Member
Yes.
Willie,
Yes.
Warren Jones, yes. By action, you have adopted the amendments from those listed meetings. Approval of consent agenda. Are there any items to be placed on the consent agenda for discussion? Okay, is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved
Second.
by Vice Chair Anderson, second by Smith Juarez. Any discussion? Okay, I call for your vote. Board Member Vice Chair Anderson,
Yes.
Board Member Grimes,
Yes.
Board Member Hershey,
Yes.
Board Member Joyce,
Yes.
Board Member Smith Juarez,
Yes.
Board Member Willie,
Yes.
Board Member Board Chair Jones, yes. By your action, you've adopted the consent agenda 7-0. Consent with comments. The district calendar modifications, academic services. Vice Chair Anderson.
Thank you, Chair Jones. I have seen a lot of concern about the extension of the school year from May 29th to June 3rd, and the requirement that we need to complete these weather days. And so I was hoping that the superintendent might be able to help us understand where the state is at with granting a waiver and why we need to make up these minutes, because I know this has been a little bit frustrating for teachers, thinking that we are imposing this requirement that they work these weather days, and I think it's coming from above our heads. So through the chair to Dr. Green.
Through the chair to Vice Chair Anderson. The Department of Education has a required number of hours that must be achieved during the school year unless the Department of Education waives those hours. We actually submitted a request for a waiver of time so that we would be able to end school on the calendar the date that you stated. However, we do have that calendar committee develop the calendar with 5 weather days, and those days are to be utilized to make up any days that we have missed. And as you know, we had an extended spring break. We had an additional 5 days that students were off. And we are required to make that time up without a waiver from the Department of Education. And the way we're making that time up is actually Duval Homeroom gives additional time. And then the last 2 weather days will help the school district meet the required number of hours. We sent in a waiver. The Department of Education has sent back information that you are to utilize the time that you have in your calendar to make up your additional hours. We submitted that waiver in the event that if the Department of Education changes their mind sometime in the time of May, we have an official request for the waiver. But at this time, they have not granted that waiver. So we would have to utilize our 2 weather days.
Thank you. I appreciate that clarification. I know that there's some, maybe I'll say misleading information that the state has put out that has led people to think that a waiver has been granted to not meet those required minutes. And I just wanted to make sure that, you had the opportunity, that we had the opportunity to explain that we have specifically asked for a waiver because we understand the work that our teachers are putting in. We understand the extra hours that are going into preparing for this virtual learning experience and the opportunity to be able to complete that work and assignments and education potentially without those weather days. But unfortunately, the state has not granted us that waiver. And so we have to move forward with accounting for the minutes. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Vice Chair Anderson. Any other
Superintendent.
discussion? Pardon?
Chairman Jones,
Yes, ma'am.
I needed to make a correction. It's 3 weather days. It ends on June 3rd. I said 2. It's 3.
3.
Could I, through the chair, could I ask a quick question?
Sure.
So Dr. Green, so just to make sure I'm clear, so we submitted for a waiver, we have not gotten it, but there's still a chance we could get it, or is where are we past, or is there a window of time, or what is that information?
There's not a window of time, but we felt we needed to officially submit it in case there comes an opportunity that they decide that they will waive time. They have not said absolutely no. They just continue to say, hey, if you have the days, you need to utilize them to meet your time. And I would not want us to reap the benefits if the state of Florida said, we will waive time for those who had put in a request. So we just made our request known officially.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? I don't see any hands. All right. Thank you. Discussion agenda. Human Resource Services compensation, approval of base pay increase for school-based administrators. Dr. Green, your recommendation, would you read it?
Yes, sir. That the Duval County Public Schools, that the Duval County School Board approve a base pay increase for school-based administrators.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, Chairman Jones, I read your part, not my part. So can I read my part?
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, that was me.
All right.
That the Duval County School Board approve a 2% increase to the base pay for school-based administrators.
Okay. Is there a motion?
Move the item.
Moved by Board Member Smith Juarez, second by Board Member Hershey. Discussion. Ms. Joyce.
Thank you, Chair Jones. When the board received this item a few weeks ago, I had several questions and shared my concerns with the board and Dr. Green about approving this item right now. Thank you, Dr. Green, for providing the salary comparison schedule of the 7 large districts in the state of Florida. The assistant principals in Duval County are among the lowest paid APs in Florida's big 7 school districts. And it is important that we address this issue. But in my opinion, the time to address it is post-pandemic. Thousands in our community face an uncertain employment future. Just today, over 600 of our contracted custodial employees are losing their jobs. In the face of this reality, discussions of pay raises should be put on hold. My preference is that we table this issue until the situation returns to something closer to normal. At that point, I would gladly support the initiative to revise our school-based admin salary schedule to something more competitive with the other large districts in our state. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Board Member Joyce. Any more discussion?
I have a quick question through the chair, through to the superintendent. If we were to vote on this today, when would this start to actually impact paychecks for those assistant principals?
Through the chair to Board Member Willie, it would go through the normal cycle. Finance would do retro pay, and then it would hit their next paycheck.
Got it. Okay.
May I add one other statement? You also have another group of employees on this same agenda. It's not just school-based administrators. If we go back, starting in December, we approved the health service nurses contract. January, the district administrators contract. February, ASME. March, IBEW. March, school police. And then this month, well, what would have been April, JSA supervisors and school-based administrators. As you can see, we brought one group every single month. And that is why I feel compelled about bringing these two employee groups, because these are the last two employee groups.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Green. I see no hands for discussion. I call for your vote. Board Member Vice Chair Anderson.
DeVores, were you trying to speak?
Oh,
yeah, I was. Yeah, I was going to jump in for just a second. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Chairman. Through the chair to Dr. Green, when is the last time that this employee group received salary increase?
Through the chair to Board Member Swift Flores, 4 years ago.
And do we have any other employee groups that have had that long since they have had a pay increase?
Through the chair to Board Member Smith Flores, not to my knowledge.
Thank you. Thank you. These school-based administrators do a tremendous job and have continued to report to their schools in any case where it's necessary. It's been 4 years since they have had a pay increase. I agree and appreciate that the superintendent has said that we will do an appropriate salary study, but that in good faith, she brought this agenda item to the board as a measure to begin to address this particular employee group. And so I appreciate her bringing the item forward. I think 4 years is a long time when other employee groups have received pay raises along the way, and they have continued to take on challenge after challenge during that time and to really shine and do an incredible job. So I agree with doing a larger salary study, but I also think that this is an important item to support this evening for those who are currently doing the work. One other question through the chair to the superintendent, because it's been referenced a couple of times this evening. Could you walk through our relationship with GCA and the layoffs that are happening with some of those employees? And also, as you're speaking to that, please speak to the general annual cycle that we have with this particular contract.
Through the chair to Board Member Smith Juarez, I'm going to ask Mr. Paul Suarez, the Assistant Superintendent of Operations, to address that. He is more intimately involved and engaged with GCS. Is it amenable to you, Chair?
Yes, he turned his microphone on. Sorry, go ahead.
Yes, to Board Member Smith Juarez, to the chair. We have a contract with GCA now, ABM. They did a name change basically to ABM, but same basic company. We typically go through a cycle where ABM goes through a cycle each year. At the end of the school year, they typically will have an employee furlough or layoff that occurs where a majority of employees are laid off. They retain a smaller workforce to do summer cleaning, and then they rehire those same employees in the August timeframe before the start of the school year. Because of the COVID-19 emergency that occurred this year, we were forced to do, or the contractors actually were forced to do layoffs to different workforces. ABM was able to retain employees through spring break to do sanitization and then do spring break cleaning, and then we advanced the summer cleaning work early so we could keep that workforce working. But now we've hit a point as of last week where we can no longer continue to do summer cleaning. As a result, ABM really does not have productive work left to do for a significant portion of the workforce. So they were forced to look at this potential layoff, reducing back to just a single custodian per school. And so they performed the layoff April 27th. That again would have normally have occurred about 5 weeks from now, towards the end of May or the first week in June. So again, it's a normal cyclical layoff, but it occurred early because we simply ran out of productive work for that custodial workforce to perform under the custodial contract. Hopefully, I hope that addresses your question.
It does, thank you. And were we to be able to have the appropriate conditions to continue summer cleanings and do some of the work that we're unable to do now, would those individuals be eligible for rehire to do that work as they typically would?
That is correct. I mean, we're in efforts in other parts of our district to have employee students return to schools, and whenever that occurs and we're able to empty the classrooms out, which is about 80% of the summer clean work, then we would bring that workforce back, or ABM would bring that workforce back, which right now is targeted around June 15th. And we would probably see ABM bring a larger workforce back than normal during the summer, because we want to do summer cleaning, plus we want to do another round of sanitization during the summer time period to make sure schools are both cleaned and sanitized before the resumption of the school year in this coming August. So that's currently the plan.
Thank you. Thank you. And I appreciate the detail in going through that particular contract. Board Member Joyce, I hear you and I feel you that it is really difficult anytime employees are furloughed, even if it's a normal annual cycle. And so, my heart and concern goes out to those families, and my hope is that we will be able to get through those summer cleanings, to do those rehires, and that those individuals will be able to enact whatever their typical plan is for when these summer furloughs happen, and that they'll be able to do it early. I know that for some of them they will, for others it may be difficult. And so I don't mean to minimize the concern for those individuals and the difficulty for those families, but I do think that because of this particular pandemic situation, the timeline is such that we expect that the typical hours and typical annual work will happen. We're just not sure when that could happen. That being said, our principals and assistant principals are continuing their workload and their workload plus in a lot of cases, in terms of all of the things that they're having to do to keep their schools running and their staffs together. So again, I support the item. I hear your concern, Board Member Joyce, but I think this is important to support. Thank you, Chairman.
All right, thank you. Board Member, Vice Chair Anderson.
Thank you, Chair Jones. I'm sorry, I got a little confused here as the conversation shifted. In this particular agenda item 12, it's been pulled for discussion. Does this include, is this only for administrators, principals, and assistant principal salary schedules?
Dr. Green.
Whoever can answer that.
Through the chair to Board Vice Chair Anderson, the item that was pulled is only for assistant principals and principals.
Okay, thank you. So we're talking about a 2% across the board pay increase for both APs and principals. I think in our workshop we had some conversation around this. I think that the economics situation in our country and our state locally is really unsure. I am so grateful for the work that our administrators are doing to keep our buildings running. I am so grateful for the leadership that they provide to staff and the way that they are going above and beyond. And I certainly recognize that it has been a long time since this group has received a pay increase. Dr. Green, I appreciate your team sending us over the salary comparisons. My concern at the time, and my concern continues to be the discrepancy between the level that our principals are paid and the level that our APs are paid. When you look at those two comparison charts, we can see that Duval is competitive in our principal range. Our APs are at the bottom of that, barrel. And so for me, I was looking at the time to see this be an item that we could split. I would be supportive of bringing up that competitive range for our assistant principals, and maybe it's not the right time given the economic uncertainty, given the likelihood that our legislature will go back into a special session and we have no idea what will happen with our education budgets. I don't know that it's the right time to give our leaders, the people that are already the highest paid in the building, a raise. I think it doesn't send a good message. I appreciate certainly the diligence here, and it was just really bad timing. Right? I mean, all of a sudden the pandemic hit, there was this schedule, it had been budgeted, I can see the financial impact of it. I really want to support it. I'm just really concerned about the timing of it. And I think that there's more work to be done on the assistant principals versus the principals and creating a more equitable distribution for salaries there as well. So, I appreciate Charlotte Joyce for pulling this and us being able to have this conversation again. And it continues to weigh on me today.
Thank you. Anyone else to speak? Oh, Board Member Hershey, I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand.
That's okay. I think that we can't predict the future, and if we look at the decisions made in the legislative session, we know that House Bill 641 did pass through the House and the Senate, and it does come with categorical funds to increase first-year teacher pay. And granted, the governor has not signed off on that. And the goal is for districts to get first-year teacher pay up to $47.5. It does allow districts like ours that are already under for first-year teacher pay to get it up as best we can. And it's very, very prescriptive in timelines for that. So, that's a possibility that will be signed and come through. We don't know. So I don't like to make decisions based on uncertainty. I like to make decisions based upon what we know. What we know is this is the last group to get a pay raise. What we know is If we look at study after study says that the key to school success is principal leadership. The weight of the world is on our leaders. We applaud our teachers. They do a fantastic job. But at the end of the day, the people we hold their feet to the fire for is our principal leadership. And I think now more than ever, it's the right thing to signal that we value what happens, not only what happens inside our buildings, especially as we push for this referendum that's coming up, where we are looking at improving facilities. I think we need to show the district and show our principals that we value the leadership that takes place in our buildings.
All right, thank you. Board Member Willie?
Yeah, I appreciate the tension through the chair. I appreciate the tension that this conversation has because it's real. I know that there are a lot of folks who are being furloughed. There are a lot of folks who are being hired in some sectors, and we don't know like when that's going to end. So my fear is that when is a good time? We could go all the way through another year and unemployment's really low. So do we wait that long? So that's my fear about not passing this right now. And then my question, I guess, would be, if it's not about that, is it about the optics piece of it? And is there something we can do as a board or as a staff to produce documentation, press releases, other things to sort of walk people through this path? Because what made me sort of move over to this side, and I'm in the affirmative here, is when you look at what we've done, and we've each month that we've done that and sort of walk people through this path, it makes a lot more sense. And then the other piece, as I mentioned before, is we just never know when. And I think I would love us to just continue that to sort of show that we have some stability as we're moving forward. So those are my comments as we move into this vote.
Thank you, Board Member Willie. The optics, I think, is a concern, but the reality is we could have approved this several months ago. Had the superintendent brought all of them at one time, this would have been behind us. And I don't take lightly the fact that a number of people have been furloughed and or have lost their jobs. But we have to do what's right for children. And we know that if we're going to have high-performing schools, you got to have dedicated, hardworking principals who are doing the work each and every day. So although I do have a concern about the timing, I think we have a responsibility to make sure those optics are accurate and people understand that this is a 2% raise, not a 5%, not a 3%, a 2% raise to a group of employees who have not had a raise in over 4 years. And had we not had this done incrementally, one each month, this would have been done long before the pandemic hit us. So we have to explain that to our constituents. And also, we need to make sure that those persons who have been laid off or furloughed have easy access to those stimulus dollars that the city council is discussing today and that the federal government has approved. And we need to make sure that those companies who are laying off, whether it's the bus companies, Chartwells, or GCA, that they have the information to make sure their employees are front and center in applying for those stimulus dollars. Vice Chair Anderson.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate one last turn here. I was just looking back at the PDF files that we were sent about the salary comparisons. And I would like to note again that our principals, our school leaders, our principals for our high schools are, out of the big 7 in our surrounding counties, the 3rd highest paid. And they fall right in the middle at number 5 for our elementary ESE and alternative schools. And I think when we're looking at making sure that our building leaders are compensated well, I think we are doing a fair job. They deserve a ton. If I could pay them more, if I could pay everyone more, I would certainly love to do that. I think if we were looking at just a piece that was about increasing the assistant principals to make that a more competitive salary range, which is not what we see. That consistently falls toward the bottom of the barrel across the Big Seven and our surrounding counties. It would be a different vote for me. Today, there is uncertainty. Surely, I don't know what the future holds. If this vote had come to us a month ago, 2 months ago, I think it would have been a different conversation, but this is where we are today. And I think that my constituency would want me to answer for this during this economic time. And when we're thinking about the referendum and we're thinking about needing to be able to make a case for responsible expenditures and fiscal responsibility, this is one of those places where I think someone's going to come and say, not someone, I think that there's a large group of people that will say, this is what you did in the middle of a pandemic to some of the highest paid people in the school building. And do they deserve to be paid? Absolutely. I just don't know that now is the right time. And when is the right time? I certainly have faith that the superintendent and the team will continue to bring it back. As soon as we have a sense of where our financials land, nothing has been signed by the governor, so we don't know what the budget's going to be. That's frustrating. But I think we need to wait until at least we get a snapshot of that. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else?
Can I, through the chair, but this does not preclude us from doing the research on the salary piece for the assistant principals, or even coming back with something later on to supplement or add to this, right? This does not stop us from doing that. Am I correct about that?
Through the chair to board member Willie, no.
Okay. Yeah, so that would be sort of my statement is while we're doing all this, what happens is what I know right now is that as we're moving through into the summer, you will have a number of APs and principals that is when job searches start to happen. So this is an incentive for our folks to remain, to stay. I know this is a recruitment tool as well when you have a salary, even if it's 2%, which isn't that much money from the money that you're making. So it's not that big a amount of money. So I'll just stop there.
All right. Thank you, Board Member Willie. Anyone else? I'm looking for hands. If not, I call for your vote. Vice Chair Anderson?
No.
Board Member Grimes?
Yes.
Board Member Hershey?
Yes.
Board Member Joyce?
No.
Smith Juarez?
Yes.
Board Member Willie?
Yes.
And Board Member Jones, yes. By a vote of 5-2, you have approved the item, the recommended item from Superintendent Green. Okay. There's no board travel, no superintendent's travel. For the record, Board Member Anderson.
Thank you. I was going to share some slides and some mental health stuff this evening. Did you want to come back to me, or did you want me to start there?
You start, yeah. We go ahead and do we're going to call this our Wellness Wednesday. But go ahead.
Our rotation, the superintendent and I had spoken. I said, well, how is everything going? What can I do? How can I help? And, we talked about making sure that we are tending to folks' mental health. I want to say for the record, to begin with, that the behavioral health team and our psychologists and our social workers and what's coming out of Duval County Public Schools to support our communities, to support our students in their mental health is beautiful. I really appreciate the work that's gone into it. I really appreciate being able to reach out. For people that are watching that maybe haven't had access to it, I would encourage you to go and look at what our Duval County Behavioral Health team is presenting to the community. It's really useful tips, and I look forward to it continuing. I know that there is a lot of conversation right now about needing to support our mental health in addition to our regular daily duties. of educating children and learning, or whatever your work is to support our students. So I'll scroll through these briefly. Nina, if you want to scroll through quickly, if you haven't already done so, please make sure that you have regular routine for daily activities. It's amazing how much of a difference it makes when you write this down rather than having it in your head. So I would encourage you all to write down a routine, get dressed every day, and sometimes get dressed for the social life you want, not the social life you have. We're all stuck inside, but it does make a difference. Get out of your house, do some walking, even if it's just sitting outside for a cup of coffee, and be sure to eat and drink a nice, healthy, balanced diet. I posted this on social media recently. I think that this is a time for great opportunity for people that have ever struggled with anxiety, depression, control. Really looking at where you are, where you want to be. There's opportunity to exercise some new skills here. Are you in the fear zone? Are you in the learning zone? Are you in the growth zone? Having the insight personally and also the agility to make those shifts. Where do you want to be and how are you going to get there? I would encourage people to be honest with themselves and reach out for help if you're not where you want to be. Here are some tips for getting where you want to be. Your emotional well-being. I'm not going to read through all of them, but a couple that I think are important is to lower your expectation and practice radical self-acceptance. People can be really hard on themselves. Teachers can be particularly hard on themselves and sometimes on their students with expectations. There's no roadmap here, and no one has ever experienced this before, so it is okay to figure it out as you're going along. You don't need to be doing it well. You don't need to be doing it right because we don't know what that looks like. So be kind to yourself, be kind to those you interact with. I would also encourage people to find a personal lesson or meaning, construction that comes from the destruction. There's opportunity here to look at life and look at the world in a different way. Even though this is a hard time, sometimes that's what challenges us to grow. The best fruit is out on a limb. So sometimes we need to just get out there and get that for ourselves. Some tips for children. It is not unusual to see children having emotional and behavioral problems during this disruption routine. Kids are very reliant on routine, and as that's disrupted and their world is upended and flipped upside down just like ours is, they express it in a different way. So being able to play with them is really important. A child's lexicon, their verbal acuity isn't the same as an adult's. Obviously, the younger they are, the more difficult it is for them to communicate their feelings and needs. So I would encourage everyone to take plenty of time to play with their children, and also just focus on spending quality time with them, whether that is through games or reading. Give plenty of verbal reassurances and follow their lead. I think sometimes parents can get a little ahead of their kids and push them. Sometimes I get into my husband and I tell him he's playing for our child when he wants him to play with a certain toy or do a certain thing. And I think we all tend to do that, but really allowing the child to direct the play or the time that you're spending together is a way to build your attachment and help them feel stable and comfortable. Allowing plenty of sensory activities and creating a calm space. It's helpful for them. And lastly, for children, I would encourage everyone to avoid exposure to alarming news stories, talk about death, dying, scary things. This is scary for all of us, but as children are just sitting in a room or playing, you don't think that they're listening, they hear. Whether that's something that's on the TV or a conversation that you're having in your home or on the telephone. Please be aware of that. And then finally, I want to share this poem with you, and I'm going to read it because I think it's really important. So these are my words of wisdom. This is from, it's kind of floated around. I've seen it a couple times on the internet, misattributed. But this is a retired teacher. Her name is Catherine O'Meara. She is from Wisconsin. And she wrote this little poem back in March, and I think it's really moving. And the people stayed home and read books and listened and rested and exercised, made art and played games and learned new ways of being and were still and listened more deeply. Some meditated, some prayed, some danced, some met their shadows, and the people began to think differently. And the people healed. In the absence of people living in ignorant, dangerous, mindless, and heartless ways, the earth began to heal. And when the danger passed and the people joined together again, they grieved their losses and made new choices and dreamed their images and created new ways to live and heal the earth fully. Sorry, that wasn't good. My camera is blocking the last line. As they had been healed. I apologize. I think that we have no idea what will happen, and certainly the isolation that everyone is experiencing right now kind of has us in this surreal alternate reality. And I have some concern that when we come out of this and we start to talk to our neighbors and hear the stories that are going on in people's homes and in their families, that there's going to be some pretty sad things that happen. Not every house is a happy place to be locked up for 6 or 8 or 12 weeks. And so the feat that we will deal with as we come back into our communities, as we come together as teachers, rejoin with students in the fall, is not going to be small. Tending to children's social and emotional needs, to the community's needs, to each other's needs is going to be massive. And so as we move forward and we talk about the details of how many have survived and how many are not surviving and how many are infected, this is a virus and it won't last forever. It may last a while. But we'll get a vaccine. And I think sometimes the impacts that we don't see, that we can't test, will be very long lasting. And so I would encourage everyone to get some help, to reach out if you need it. There's guidance counselors. There are lots of hotlines. I should have included that on my last slide. I apologize, but that is all accessible on our website, homeroom as well. So please make sure that you are getting the help you need. I appreciate the superintendent giving me an opportunity to share some tips about mental health. And before I go on the For the Record, I do want to send thanks to our administrative assistants, and I wasn't able to send them my appreciation. It was Administrative Assistants Day, I think, last week. So thank you so much for all the work that you were doing, and all the administrative professionals across, all professions, but especially in the school district, for helping keeping us running, keeping things organized. This has been a very challenging time. And next week is Teacher Appreciation Week. So please, I believe it's next week, the first week in May. I would like to encourage everyone to appreciate their teachers. This has been such a strange time. And they are working so incredibly hard. It's been phenomenal to see them sharing and reaching out to one another and collaborating and supporting each other. I do want to say thank you to the Dream Team, to the lawyers who have not only granted us, waived our fees, but also helped us fight the good fight. And I will say thank you to the City Council as well, who has moved this forward to the ballot. I heard their concerns, and for those that have been supportive all along, I appreciate that. So thank you all. Superintendent and staff, great job getting meals and technology out, and keeping attendance up. That's all impressive work. So I wish you all well, and we'll see you in May. Stay healthy.
All right, thank you. Board Member Willie, for the record.
Yeah, I'll jump in. First of all, the online learning piece, I appreciate Dr. Green for that overview of it. Flipgrid is amazing. My daughter's on it. We've made musical instruments. We've made other videos. It's just really impressive to see not just that it's happening, but how fast it's ramped up and then how engaged many of our students are, even just seeing my daughter and her peers and all that. So thank you for that. In addition to that, I want to thank just generally the staff and everyone at the district. Just kudos for the hard work that's been put in over this last five or so weeks or 6 weeks or so. It has been inspiring to so many folks in the city. So I just really appreciate it, and for allowing us to stand in for you, Dr. Green, and send emails to our sort of base last week. That was a huge sort of, I mean, just a wave of emotions came over when people were replying back, and you said it would happen, and it did. And it was just a powerful thing to know, just be able to appreciate. And I do it all the time, but I don't think it's put out there as far and wide. So I appreciate you allowing us to do that. And that was fantastic. In addition, just want to thank the city council, our amazing dream team, and everyone who had a part in this pathway to our leadership. Chair Jones, past Chair Hershey, for your leadership as we navigated these waters. Now we're in go mode. So I'm looking forward to working with everybody on this call and everybody in our community to really ensure that our facilities match the great things that are happening right now, that are happening even without our facilities being there. So, and last, I just want to thank all of our graduates. I know we'll be able to do messages for them, but they've been this graduating class of 2020 is like none other. Like no other graduating class will have gone through this. So they have something that is so unique to them, and I think it's going to make them stronger. So big congratulations to each and every one of those folks as they're sort of getting ready for that next path and that journey. So thank you to all the other board members too, and for keeping everybody safe. Even this environment and us doing this is helping to keep a lot of folks safe, and we're modeling what it means to be safe as elected officials in our city. So thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Willie. Board Member Smith-Morez.
Thank you, Chairman. I too want to thank the City Council for their vote to place the referendum on the ballot, the mayor for his quick signature, and all of my fellow board members and staff and so many constituents who came out over the better part of a year to get this on the ballot. So many constituents, so many teachers, so many administrators, folks from the business community and others. This really was a group effort and could not have been done without Hank Cox, Audrey Moran, Scott Cairns, and the teams that they put together to really put the best interest of children and our community at large in the foreground. And so I want to say thank you to everyone who was involved in that effort. This is one more step in a long race to the finish line in November. So please keep the enthusiasm up. Please keep explaining to folks, why we need this, why it's important that they vote for it, and what it will do for our community moving forward. I can tell you, I have talked to a lot of parents who appreciate our school buildings, even as amazing a job as many of our teachers and our principals and paras and others are really reaching in through technology to do what they can to keep learning happening. I keep lovingly referring to their new parent teaching assistants who have a new appreciation for the work that they do on a daily basis and have a new appreciation for just how important those learning environments are and what that means to our children. So Dr. Green, really impressive presentation on everything that is happening in the district. I think it's important that the community hears and realizes all of the things that are still in motion, even given a lot of the safer at home practices that we are also implementing. So thank you for that great work. I was really excited to open my New York Times Monday morning briefing this morning and see that our very own Craig McFarland from Stanton College Prep was there in the New York Times today. We know in this community that he was accepted to all 8 Ivy League institutions. But now the nation and the world are finding out about the incredible work that he has done and the incredible work that Duval County Public Schools has poured in to him and his amazing mother, who has been part of the story all the way along. So congratulations to him. And then I also want to remind people to fill out your census. Make sure that you are counted. I believe as of this morning, it was 54.2% of households had responded, which leaves almost half. And that's a national number, but that leaves almost half the households that still need to respond. So you can go online to census.gov. You can make it part of your home learning experience with your child to talk about the census and talk about how you are counted, and make sure you count every member of your household, including babies and young ones. You know, whoever is in your home should be counted, whether or not they are an immediate member of your family or someone who you are caring for during this time. If they're living in your household, they should be counted. And then finally, I just want to say a special thank you to so many who are stepping up and figuring out how we can fill the gaps. So it's certainly our teachers, our administrators, all of those who are delivering learning. It is also the bus drivers and food service workers, and all of those who are finding a way to continue to serve the community in the ways that we know Duval County Public Schools is essential to our children, to our community, and to the fabric of who we know we are as Jacksonville. Appreciated Board Member Anderson's presentation, and one of the things that I have really looked to is that all that we know can be very difficult for people about social isolation, and I use that term intentionally because some of us, even though we might be physically distanced from people, still feel very connected. Others are feeling very socially isolated from others and lonely, and one of the best things to do in solidarity with others is to be of service. And so find ways to connect to people, find ways that you can do something for others that is safe, but that gives you a sense of purpose when a lot of the things that typically keep you busy or typically keep you purposeful might not be part of your day. I know it's something that I have tried to incorporate, and that's been helpful to me because it was recommended by former Surgeon General Vivek Murthy in an article that I saw that he wrote. So appreciate the board, really appreciate our administrative assistants, staff, everybody who's keeping us connected, and I will leave it there. Oh, I won't. I knew there was one thing that I was forgetting, is I do really want to thank WJCT for stepping in and finding a way to honor all of our schools and our seniors. So please do tune in, and thank you for that virtual offering for our seniors. Okay. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Board Member Joyce.
Oh, thank you, Chair Jones. I want to just give a special shout out, a special thank you to Dr. Green and her leadership during this crazy situation of moving our kids out of a brick and mortar building into their homes to learn. You have done a phenomenal job. I said in the letter that I sent to District 6 last week that if to say I applaud you would be the ultimate understatement. You and your team deserve a standing ovation. And so I am aware that of the hard work that at the district level, at the administrative level, the principals, the assistant principals that are putting all this time into this work, but the teachers and the parents that are now really seeing the scope and the depths of the work that they do. And I just really believe that there is a newfound appreciation for what happens in our classrooms. And so kudos to you. I applaud you for that. And I also just want to leave this by saying finally that my heart goes out to our contracted family, the bus drivers and our custodial workers and our food service workers that are really suffering during this time. And I just want you to know that I support you and I'm praying for you. We all do. And we're just going to keep a good thought that this is going to be over soon and everybody's going to be back to learning and working the way we used to do that. So with that, I'll just leave that there and you guys enjoy your evening.
All right. Thank you, Board Member Joyce. Board Member Grimes. You have to turn your microphone on.
Am I there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I don't know that there's anything left to talk about, except, things that are certainly going on in our city, not just our city, obviously, around the world. And I think that there's going to be a lot of things that come out of it. And some will be very helpful to us and hopefully bring people together. I also have to say about Dr. Green, I don't know where she gets her energy. And it's amazing to me that not only you're doing good stuff, but you're doing it very quickly and well planned. Even though it's quickly, it's well planned. So I really can't convey how much I appreciate that, and all of the teachers that have been doing the hard work. And I just hope, I think I told the superintendent one time that we need to bottle this up, or to one day somebody will say, what do you want? What do you want? What did y'all do to make this happen? And so, and we probably get one of our books that we can do with that. But I just hope everybody stays well. And I know it would be nice if this was getting over quickly, but it's going to be around for a while. And so everybody just stay safe.
All right. Thank you, Board Member Grimes. Board Member Hershey.
So Board Member Smith-Warras gave a shout out to one of our students, and I just wanted to follow up. I've had the opportunity to do some work observing school boards and how they function and use minutes. I've watched hours of other board members' meetings and timed them and discussions and things. But recently, in some communication with people at the Council of Great City Schools, I was online with someone from Iowa and someone from California, and neither of their school districts are online yet. And here we are in, end of April, May's here, and they're trying to figure it out and how to do it. And I share that because we've heard lots of people say, Dr. Green's done a good job, and applaud the district. But I think it's important to underscore it with the fact that there are a lot of cities around the country that aren't where we are and doing what we're doing. And that's really what is commendable. So to Board Member Joyce's point about giving a standing ovation, I think it's well-deserved. When I was really surprised to hear that. So to Board Member Smith-Warras' point about getting out and doing something, I had a great week last week because I visited 3 of my schools during that 11 to 1 o'clock time last week. And if you have not been by your school during the lunch distribution time, you owe it to yourself to leave your house between 11 and 1 and go visit a school. See those buses drive off loaded with food. Speak to those paraprofessionals who say thank you that we have a job. See your assistant principals out there handing out lunches. Notice how people who are at other schools within your district who show up to help and step up and fill in. It is very inspiring. And just to see the kids show up, they want to see their teachers. And so that made me feel good. I just want to share that that's something that I encourage you, if you have not visited your school during that 11 to 1 o'clock lunchtime, I hope that's something that you will go out and do. I have been so inspired with the creativity of teachers, of principals, of students during this time. It's been fascinating to see on Facebook and other social media outlets. I too would like to congratulate the class of 2020 and say well done, and we celebrate you. And on that note, I am certain that if school can kick off the 2021 school year in August, it will be the most celebrated return to school ever. And so that's what we're holding out for.
All right, thank you. I just want to add that I agree with Board Member Hershey that parents now have a real appreciation for what our teachers do day in and day out. And many of them can't wait for some semblance of normalcy to return to our school district. And I also want to thank Dr. Green for her thoughtful. She and her cabinet were very thoughtful in making sure that laptops were given out, hotspots were provided to those students who didn't have them, lunches were provided, even though they didn't have to attend a traditional public school. Those things can't be overlooked. The thoughtful, creative leadership that she's provided, she and her staff have provided, has been invaluable to this unique transition that we've undertaken this last month. To our seniors, we know this has been a very difficult year for them. Many of them did not have proms. Grad night was canceled. But if all things work out, we will have a celebration, a graduation come July. And I think that's important that we fulfill that commitment to those students. I know there was a baseball player, and I wouldn't call his name, but it was on TV. And I just want to thank Daniel Murphy, who plays professional baseball and finished from Englewood High School, for his contributions to this district and making sure that he provided support to those to the district that got him to where he is today. He's a multimillionaire playing baseball, something he loves to do. I wish I could have done it, and but he gave back, and that's what we wish more athletes who have gone on to the professional level would contribute and do. And finally, I just want to congratulate Isaiah Adams, Mr. Basketball for the state of Florida, a student at Paxson School for Advanced Studies. This is the first time in, I think, 27 years that Jacksonville has been honored to have Mr. Basketball for the state of Florida. Did I miss somebody? So congratulations to Isaiah and wish him the best. I just wish he was going to Florida. Anything else? Any other comments? If not, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Vice Chair Anderson, second by Smith Juarez. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned. See you on Tuesday.
Adjust. Senator Jeff Brandes also said he plans to propose legislation that would protect businesses from being sued if an employee or customer contracts the coronavirus on their premises, as long as the business was following the necessary safety precautions.
I think this is one of the critical issues facing businesses, and it affects all of us, whether we're in the tourism industry, or the general businesses, or construction.
One task force member in the restaurant business suggested giving employees who don't have benefits up to 14 days paid leave if they exhibit COVID-19 symptoms.
I think it's really important for us as an industry to keep that in mind, to be mindful of that if we're going to be able to give people confidence that we're going to take all the right steps to protect our employees.
Entertainment like Universal Orlando is considering limiting guests to their parks, and sporting events like golf tournaments